Boxing King Media, powered by BYD. Adam Smith out here in Sheffield on a Sunday. People are sleeping and chilling out after the boxing last night, but me and Adam are still here grinding away.
That's what we do. It doesn't go down too well at home, but yeah, weekends are a work time, and yeah, Sunday is, yeah, it's always something going on in boxing. A Sunday, it's the aftermath, isn't it? I'm talking about Shabaz's performance last night, or looking forward to what's happening on a Monday. It never stops, does it? So no, we've had a great press conference here. Really enjoyed it. Really launching the December the 7th GBM show, which is a terrific one to finish our year. And yeah, we've got another event tonight we're going to. So it really is non-stop.
It definitely is, Adam. And what a press conference for a Sunday. I was just thinking that's probably the best press conference I've been to on a Sunday. It's the only one I've been to on a Sunday, but that was brilliant. 3-4 proper 50-50 fights on there. Another big statement for Izzy, and I keep repeating this every time he says I'm going to do it bigger and better next time, and he's still on that chain. He's still doing it, and he's announced a new signing in Shak and Peters. I'll quickly cover Shak and Peters. What a good signing that is. He's fighting for the European title next, and if he wins that, he's in this crazy mix of all the British light heavyweights.
It's a fantastic division, isn't it? The 12 stone 7 brigade. I was with Tundi Ajayi last night. We were talking about Anthony Yard and all the opponents he could fight, and yeah, Shak and Peters has lost to Dan Aziz and to Craig Richards, but he's handled himself well in all company. He's a good fighter. He's been a bit inactive. Tall guy, lovely guy, really good talker, and I think that there's a real plan for him next year, not just this European title, but to try and get him, as you say, in that mix. And under sort of Bivol and Batebiev, there's a whole host of them, aren't there? The light heavyweights, the Joshua Buatsis, the Willie Hutchinsons, the Craig Richards. There's so many still. Dan Aziz, obviously, and it's just, yeah, it's a brilliant division to be in. I still don't quite know how he makes it. He's so tall, but he's talented and he's a worker, and he looks great. Always, whenever I see him, he's always in shape, and he deserves an opportunity. So I'm glad he's got it. It's good for GBM and it's good for Shakan.
Indeed. If he wins his title, who would you like to see him fight? I was dropping names earlier. Liam Cameron. There's obviously Louis Edmondson, who's just won the British recently. There's a Craig Richards rematch potentially, and even Anthony Yard.
Yeah, Louis will be good. Anthony Yard, I think, probably has his sights on Joshua Buatsi or on a higher level. I think Shakan needs a couple of good wins. I think he takes this European belt, and then he's got a prize piece of property. But that'd be good, wouldn't it? A British and European scrap with Louis, or yeah, Dan Aziz rematch. There's much out there for him. I think if he keeps winning, if he gets some momentum, he gets on these GBM shows 3 or 4 times next year. Who knows? Start of 2026, he could be in a really good position. But some fantastic fights out there for him.
Definitely. And, rather than me starting with a particular fight, which fight are you most excited about on this card? Because there's like 3-4 proper 50-50 dust-ups.
Some really good fights, but the one that stands out to me, no question about it, is Razer Ali and Nile Berry. I've loved it. I wanted Izzy to make it. Razer Ali thrilled us at York Hall with the stoppage of Linux Lithgow, which was a really good fight while it lasted, and he lit up Bethnal Green, didn't he? Maybe more than I've ever seen it. The chance for him, he's a fantastic story, where he's come from in life. He's a great character. He's an absolute inspiration for all of us, and he can fight. And Nile Berry is one of the hottest super bantamweights around. Despite losing to De Rosa in what was a really good fight in Coventry. Before that fight, everyone was saying he was going really far in the sport. So he has a defeat. He took it really, really personally, and it was very hard for him. But he's around good people with John Pegg and the team, and they've thrown him back in. He's had a quick win, a one-round blowout win, and he goes back in with someone like Razer Ali. I mean, there's people that are saying to me, why on earth is Razer Ali fighting Nile Berry? He's going to get beaten. And there's people saying to me, what's Nile Berry doing? So it's one of those that you just cannot pick. And those are the fights that Izzy loves putting on. And that's what GBM's becoming famous for, really, is these 50-50 or 55-45 fights, albeit down, at domestic level. But we saw it last time out with Shaq Thompson and River Wilson. We saw it with Reece Mould and Ryan Walsh. They were, before you couldn't really pick them. Maybe Shaq's one you could, but you certainly couldn't pick the other one. And Ryan Walsh went in and got very, very quick knockout win and goes on to fight in Monaco in a few weeks' time and resurrects his career. So, yeah, GBM's a great platform. Now with DAZN as well alongside us. I think 2025 is going to be a huge year for us. And, we're going to finish it in style on December the 7th. So, yeah, of course, I'm looking forward to Danny Quartermain and Jack Bates. And it's a great clash of styles. It's a fantastic fight again. Not quite sure who's going to come through that. And then you've got Levi Giles and Kez Ashfaq, who's calling everybody out. And you've got a ton of other fighters on the card. It's a really, really good night. And it's value for money. I think it's value for money for fans that can get there. And also on DAZN, tune in. It's a great December for fight fans on DAZN, and culminating with the big one with Usyk and Fury. And it's a really busy time for boxing at the moment. It's great that we've got so many British shows coming up. We're all over the country. I know you were in Birmingham last night. I was in Manchester the week before. We've got Newcastle coming up. I've got Sophie Alish on that card. I'm with Carl Davis in Nottingham that same night that Edwards and Yafai is happening in Birmingham. We've got December the 7th here in Sheffield. December the 14th, I think Boxer will do a show. We've got Monaco as well. It's crazy times. We've got a bit of MMA as well in Lyon too in December. So it's a lot to fit in. Plus the small business of Usyk Fury too. So there's huge amounts happening. It's great for fighters before Christmas, because that's when they get their money in and they know there's a bit of a layoff after Christmas. And it's good that so many are getting onto this show, and it's going to be packed.
Yeah, indeed, I think you kind of summed it up nicely there, Adam. I think next year we're going to see a lot of boxing shows, and exciting times ahead for British boxing fans. And talking about boxing shows, you mentioned it there. I think the big talking point from last night is the judging. How bad was that, and what can be done about that? Because I think pretty much everyone had the general consensus was 10-2, 9-3, or an 8-4 at a push to Shabaz MASOUD. What did you make of the split decision?
So neither you or I have had much sleep in the last 12 to 18 hours. I was on TalkSport last night, and we had the fight on the big screen, but we sort of were on air with a program where we had Chev Clark in, we had Tunde in, we were talking to Joe Parker, to Dillian White. So I was sort of keeping my eye on the boxing. I've got to shout out to Echo Essim, and what a fight that was. That was one of the great sort of at that level domestic fights I've seen in a long time. Brutal. And then I saw a bit of Chantel's, and I saw most of the main event, and for me Shabaz won easily. I thought he was brilliant. I thought Liam Davis was tough and strong and kept trying and but just didn't have an answer to him. So I wasn't scoring it, but the picture of it was a very clear win for Shabaz. So when I heard the split decision and that Liam Davis had won on one of the cards, I was very worried that we were going to have another bad one, because there's no question who won that fight. And I thought it was great for Ben Davison after what happened with AJ, and I know he was shell-shocked by that. He put that plan together, and the kid executed it brilliantly. It was one of those fantastic sort of fighter trainer performances that I love to see. We had Joe Parker on yesterday. It was like when he fought Deontay Wilder, or it was a great performance from a coach, listening in the corner and that's what Ben and Shabaz had last night. And I thought it was a terrific win for him, win of his life, and congratulations to him.
Yeah, indeed. I think you summed it up nicely there. What can, I'm just curious, I don't know, from your broadcasting experience, what can actually anything be done about that judge who obviously scored it in that sort of way? What can be done?
Well, I heard Eddie, who wasn't there, I know he was on FaceTime afterwards, saying that it was an absolute disgrace. The judge should never work again. This is what we get sometimes, these calls for judges to either not work or to be pulled up. Look, I'd like to see it like all of us, right? If we make a mistake at work or we do something, our boss says, hey, you've got to do better next time. That's part of learning, isn't it? And you're never too old to learn. So I would like to see, judges. It's up to each, whether it's the British ball, whether it's the world internationals, whether it's your WBAs, your IBFs, your WBCs, whatever. I think they should have, they should be looking at these things and saying, right, where can we improve, or where can everyone can make a mistake. Everyone's human. And boxing is so subjective. You look at it at different points of the ring, like the Regis Prograis fight the other night. Like, I thought Jack Catterall won that fight, and I thought he won it probably by maybe 3 rounds, but it was really wide on the card. So I just don't know sometimes what judges are looking at. And I heard Richie Whittle on the commentary last night saying it depends what you are looking for. Are you looking for, the boxer? Are you looking for the aggressor? I mean, I thought Bivol beat Beterbiev. A lot of people thought Beterbiev won that fight. I like the boxer. I like what he did. I thought a lot of Beterbiev's work landed on gloves and elbows and arms, and I thought Bivol deserved either to win the fight or it was close, but I thought the wrong guy went home with the treasure. So yeah, it's a difficult one, and I think that you've got VAR in football, you've got everything, and VAR, some people love, some people hate. It does take out the excitement. Sometimes it adds to it, but we've got all this technology now. We've got everything's moved forwards, and I think that if people are all seeing a fight clearly one way and somebody's not, okay, again, you can make a mistake, you're human, or maybe you think it's that way, but you should be able to, should have to maybe explain it, why you saw it that way, or sit down again and remark it. And if you've got it wrong, put your hands up and say, look, I made a mistake there. But yeah, fighters' careers are on the line here. And there's 3 people at ringside that have that in their hands if it goes the distance. So I think whatever we can do to make it the best possible outcome, is it increasing the amount of judges? Is it using some sort of TV technology? Is it using committee meetings afterwards, rescoring a fight? Is it, is there an appeal process, whatever? I think there has to be something now, because these are still happening, and there was a time when Vegas was riddled with these sort of decisions, and I saw 1 or 2 things in my time out there that were pretty scary, actually. And I think fighters are the ones. They're the ones. I always say this, goal, that are brave enough to get in the ring and put their lives on the lines. And I think that Liam Davis would admit he lost to the better guy on the night. So why is one judge scoring it to Liam Davis? It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, again, it's subjective, and people have their own opinions. But I think, yeah, there needs to be maybe an opportunity. You interview me to ask me my opinion. Well, why the judges can't either be interviewed internally or externally to say why did you score it like that? And it can be very gentle, and it can be, okay, why did that happen? Let's watch it again. Let's go through it again, and maybe they'll come to a decision that they were wrong, or maybe they'll come to a decision that is what they did. But I think there should be that, because if Shabaz hadn't got the decision last night, it would have been really, really difficult to accept and wrong in boxing, and everyone would have been said it was a robbery or really controversial. As you said, most people thought it was 10-2, 9-3. Terry O'Connor had 106 and 112, which I think was the widest one. If it had gone the other way, rightfully so, that you've got to demand, and that's where boxing shoots itself in the foot, because people say, the decisions are, some will say they're preordained, or some will say that there's agendas here. No, the judges they do their job, and they answer to the board, and the board have got fantastic officials and terrific standards, and they're our bread and butter. They are the epicenter of everything around British boxing is the board. But I think if there's ways to make improvement, I'm sure Robert will look at it. I'm sure other governing bodies around the world will look at these situations and say, how can we get better? Because it always has to be. I remember when a referee was the one that scored the fight in a British title fight. It was up to the referee to raise the hand at the end, and they're busy doing their job. So actually, it's right that the 3 judges came in. Is it now a chance to have a look? And we've got all the technology. We've got many changes that happen in the sport, and is it a time to look at it? Because we don't want bad decisions if we can avoid them.
Yep, definitely so. And then the last quick mention I want to get from you, I know you spoke about it on TalkSport last night, Daniel Dubois' next opponent. We know AJ is definitely not fighting him now. He's injured and he can't be fit for that February date. There's talks of Joseph Parker, but I think Frank Warren's come out and said he likes that fight, but there's also a few others. And from my understanding, Joe is not in the top 15 of the IBF, so you wouldn't be allowed to fight him anyway. So I don't know if you've seen the list of names. Who would you think was the ideal choice?
Sanchez and Justice Henney, and there's a couple of names like that.
Does he deserve an easier fight? Like, I don't know use the word easier, but
do you know, it's a difficult one, right? Because there's been so many big fights made that everybody is now expecting hard fight after hard fight, so the fans are happy. But you have also got to nurture your fighters a little too. He has had Miller, Hergovich, Joshua, Should he have to go into another Joshua fight or a really, really tough one? Maybe Daniel should have a slightly easier defense. I don't have a problem with it. And yeah, you could take one of those guys, Frank Sanchez. I think has he got one defeat on the record to Caballel, and Justice Henney's obviously unbeaten, but nowhere near the level you'd have thought of a Dubois. Difficult. There's lots of fighters floating around. Your Zhangs, your Bacolis, obviously Parker. You know, we spoke to Dillian White last night. There's loads of fighters. Derek Chisora wants a couple more. There's so many that he could fight. And Daniel obviously wants to probably fight AJ again, or fight Usyk in a rematch, or fight Fury. So there's lots of options. I don't think Anthony Joshua should fight Daniel Dubois next. I think he should wait and see what happens with Usyk and Fury, and maybe go straight into the Fury fight. So Daniel's got to keep busy. I think he's got a fight he's going to announce. I presume it's going to be for February. I thought it could be someone like Joe Parker, because we haven't seen Joe for a while. He was flavour of the month, and now he's not been given the airtime, which is surprising. I thought he'd be on the Usyk Fury card or sooner. So he's overdue a fight. I'd like to see Dubois and Parker. I think it's a good fight. But no, if he's fighting somebody in the top 15 and Frank decides to take him a slightly different way, that's fine. It will be a challenge. It always is a heavyweight, and there'll be a guy at the other end of the ring who's there to take Daniel Dubois' IBF title. But yeah, if it's not the hardest fight, if it's not the toughest of the elite fighters at the moment, I think you can excuse Daniel that after he's just come out of the AJ fight. It's just that fans' expectations now, Turkey has turned boxing on its head in the last year, are that every card and every fight should be a thunderous one. People turning their nose up at the undercard for, I think it was October, whatever it was in Riyadh, the one with Bivol Batebiev, people saying, well, the undercard's not good enough, or the card's not good enough on Usyk Fury. I mean, what do we want here? A year and a half ago, we'd have bit every hand off for that sort of an event. So I think what they're doing is fantastic out there. I think they're probably going to do some sort of 5v5 or some sort of big attraction, and maybe Daniel will be part of that. I don't know the plans, but if I'm sitting there in Frank Warren's office, I would say that Daniel should fight somebody in the top 15, and I don't think it particularly matters which one it is at the moment, because the big fights are all there, and they'll be ahead in 2025. So I don't have a real problem with it, but I'd love to see Dubois and Parker. I think Joe deserves the opportunity. That's what I do think, but I don't think that will happen next.
Let's see how it all unfolds. Adam, I'm sure we'll be there to capture all the news when it happens. As always, appreciate your time, and I'll probably see you in Manchester in a couple of hours' time.
See you soon.